Hey there, everybody. The day that every gardener dreads is here. And that is the day when the Japanese beetles emerge from messing around underground and start eating all of your favorite things like roses and birch trees and linden trees and grapevines and bean plants and hibiscus. It goes on and on and on. And so they're here and they are munching. And although you can do treatments with grubicides in your lawn to sort of try to control that part of their life cycle, they do spend 85% of their life underground. It is now that they've emerged, now you have to deal with the adults, which are doing a lot of the damage. And so we're going to talk about options for treating Japanese beetles now that they're emerged. Of course, there are really low invasively things that you can do, like popping them into a bucket of soapy water, picking and squishing, throwing them on the floor and stomping on them. And those are really effective if your populations are low and you don't want to use chemical treatments. The reason you do soapy water is because if you just do a bucket of water, there's a surface tension, and you'd have to throw them in that bucket really vigorously so that they break the surface and drown. Otherwise, they just float on top, do the backstroke for a couple minutes, and then they fly off. So what the soapy water does is it breaks that surface tension, so when they get to the water, they sink. If you have chickens, chickens do love Japanese beetles. So if you have a neighbor who has chickens, you might want to donate the dead Japanese beetles to the chickens. But let's talk about treatments that you can do. So we have sort of a three-pronged approach for Japanese beetles in your garden once the adults are here. So we're going to start with, this is 8. 8 is it's a contact herbicide, insecticide. It is broad spectrum, meaning it will kill anything that it touches. So wanted insects as well as unwanted insects, but it is really effective. It does need to touch the insects. It kills pretty immediately, so you're going to see, results really quickly. It has a slight residual, but you will have to respray. The good thing about 8 and all the things we're going to talk about is that they are safe for edibles, and Japanese beetles do, especially if you grow green beans and that kind of thing, they're super fond of that. Please read the package instructions on any treatments that you're going to use. There will be a time length between application of the pesticide as to when you can harvest. So pay attention to that. So 8 is really good. It comes in, this is a ready-to-use spray. It also comes in a dust. Some people like the dust. It also comes so you can hook it up to a hose end sprayer if you have a big area, like a big bed of roses that you're trying to protect. The next thing we have is, this is called Japanese beetle killer. And what Japanese beetle killer works with is a substance called pyrethrin. Pyrethrin is an insecticide that is developed from chrysanthemums, so it is maybe less toxic than 8. It is totally useful on edibles. Again, please read the instructions on the back. This is also a contact killer, so it's not quite as immediate results as 8, but it is quite effective. And if you're looking for something that's a little more, I won't say organic, but a little less toxic, a little less chemically, then this is a really good choice. And this is a little more specific as far as insects that it's targeted, but please, look at your plants before you spray. Even, if you see a lot of bumblebees or butterflies or pollinators or that kind of thing, just hold off until they go away and then spray. This is called Captain Jack's Deadbug. This is an organic, and this works with a substance called spinosad. And what spinosad does is it gets into the digestive system of the Japanese beetle and sort of interrupts how that beetle is feeding, and then basically they stop feeding and then they just starve to death. And it doesn't take them long. But you're not going to see immediate results. Like, you're not going to spray this and the beetles are going to fall off, because they have to ingest the plant. What makes this really effective against just beetles is that this will only affect bugs that are eating the plant. So, because it has to get into their digestive system. So plants that are getting nectar or pollen or even to some extent piercing, sucking insects like aphids are not really affected by this because they're not physically consuming the foliage or the flowers. So it makes it a little bit more pest specific. So we're going to finish up by talking about traps. Everybody thinks traps are a great idea, right? You've got a beautiful rose bed and you're going to put a trap there and all the beetles are going to go to the trap instead of your roses. Which is true for the beetles that are actually on your roses, but also super true for any beetle that can set, there's a pheromone scent attractant in here. So the beetles from your neighbor's yard and the beetles that are maybe on the other side of your yard or maybe even up to a quarter of a mile away because they can fly that far, they're going to be attracted to the trap too. And they come with bags. The beetles go into the bag to find the scent and they're fooled. They think there are females in there and they can't get out. But those traps fill up really quickly. And so beetles that can't get into the trap just kind of spill out and are conveniently right where the things are that you're trying to protect. So traps can be effective if you have a fairly good-sized yard and what you want to do is place it well away from the plants you're trying to protect, well away from your veg garden, well away from your roses, well away from any areas where you might be kind of hanging out on your patio, sort of eating or something. I don't think you want them there. So traps can be really useful as long as you use them with some thought. And we have these Safers kits come with either I think there are 4 traps in here. We also have extra bags and extra lure. So once you get sort of the funnel part set, then you can get refills. You don't have to buy a whole new set of them every single time. So break out the big guns if you're not ready for the soapy water. We've got lots of choices. Come into the garden center and tell us what they're feeding on and we can help you make the best choice to control them. And just remember, by the end of August, they should be gone. So you got 2 months of Japanese beetle watching to go, and maybe the population will crash for next year and we won't be quite so bothered. All of you, happy beetle hunting from all of us here at the Roost Company.